Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you're at, ladies and gents. I am Kurojiri, your resident tinkerer and Medarotter, and this is the Medarot News Network, bringing you all the latest developments and happenings with our favorite pet fighting robot series. Now, it looks like we're going to be cresting into week 2 of the Full Metal Panic Vol.2 collaboration, as a continuation from last week, which overlapped with my 4-year anniversary. It was still very exciting. I'm so thankful for everybody that tuned in, even for just a little while, to celebrate 4 years of dedicated Medarot and meta news coverage. But we are going to be continuing on into the start of year 5 and beyond with the second wave of the Full Metal Panic collaboration. But there is something else you may notice, and it's the fact that I am not using the VTuber model this week. And that is because, much like I teased last week with my special mystery guest that will be guesting with me for this week's episode, I do want to take a minute and say it was an absolute honor and treat to reach out to them and coordinate and put this together over the last couple of weeks. We've been in communication, putting this together on the back end, and just trying to find the finer details and the final details of how exactly to go about this, because there's actually going to be a secret surprise at the very end of this week's coverage. So do make sure that you stick around to the very end to keep in mind for that. That being said, however, let me go ahead and officially introduce our mystery guest here on the MNN. Eric, founder of Witchway Games. It is a pleasure and a treat to have you here with me today. How are you doing, my friend?
Thank you, Kura. I'm doing great. I'm so excited to be here with you on the Medarot News channel. This is so exciting, and I'm just so excited to hear more about this collab.
I'm so excited to have you with us too, and thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy week to come spend some time with me here at the MNN for a while. But before we do officially get started, how about you go ahead and take just a couple minutes and just kind of tell us about yourself, who you are, what is Witchway Games, and what's kind of your big claim at the moment.
Sure thing. So, like you said, my name is Eric. I'm the founder of Witchway Games. We are a board and card game studio based out of Boston, Massachusetts, and we've done a ton of very anime-inspired work, especially recently, and I don't want to, lead the horse to water too much at this point, but Medarot has been a huge influence on this big project that we've been working on for the last 5 years, and it's just it's a really cool kind of culmination of all these different anime things that we sort of grew up watching, and so I'm excited to be able to share that with you all.
5 years, though. That's some very impressive dedication to this project in particular. How long have you been doing the card game, the whole deal with that? How long have you been doing that?
Well, I didn't really get into it until the pandemic, if I'm being totally honest.
Gotcha.
I dabbled a little bit beforehand, but it wasn't until I was, stuck at home that I, really kind of dove into what I could contribute to the board game scene.
Gotcha. Yeah, the pandemic definitely tied a lot of people in, unfortunately, but some people definitely took that in stride and made the most out of it, and it sounds very apparent to me that's definitely what you did, and that's definitely a very respectful and commendable for what you've been able to do with that. So I'm very excited to be able to showcase at the very end of this episode what that's all about, because I've been seeing the developments on the back end and a lot of the communities I do run, so I'm very excited for it as well.
Thank you so much, and it's been so fun to be a part of the community that you've built here on Discord as well. You've run such great contests and things like that, and I'm so inspired by all the really great work that I've seen from other community members and stuff like that. It's just been such a wholesome experience.
Well, I like to believe I do anyway, but I do appreciate that. That being said, let's go ahead and jump right into what was officially announced for the second week of the Full Metal Panic collaboration. It's going to be relatively quiet as far as the events and everything is concerned, as we're only seeing one brand new model of the collaboration dropping this week, and of course with the Meta Survivor news, it is going to be relatively quiet on that front as well. But with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right in officially. Now, as far as the boosted rates and the banners this week are concerned, like I said, we are only seeing one brand new model this week, and that is FMP04 Urzufalk, with a mostly new kit of Assault Boost, Emit Claw, Range Claw, Biped Legs, and the leg ability of Assault. Now, much like it was with Kaname Angel with last week introducing a couple new skills, Urzufalk definitely kicks in where she left off with some very powerful scatter type skills and an extremely synergetic kit throughout. Assault boost in particular and assault are things we are most certainly no stranger to already, but with a mid claw and range claw, it's definitely where it's picking up the game. Eric, what are your thoughts on this new model that'll be hitting the scene this week?
Honestly, I love it. It seems aggressive. It seems, it has this really beautiful dark energy. It reminds me a lot of, like other, some different figures from Gundam and things like that. I feel like
Right.
just it screams mecha.
Right, and that's definitely picking up as well in stride with the earlier models, such as with Kashim Lest, Urzatine, and even with Silvalile as well. So this model definitely will be no stranger mixing in and blending with them. Emit Claw and Range Claw are definitely going to be a lot of new kicks to the game, though, with Emit Claw requiring the consuming of 30 CG, but upon consuming that to your charge gauge, you gain double damage and defense ignore on top of that as a scatter skill. And given that it is scatter, meaning it will damage one part normally and then two others randomly, it's going to be an extremely powerful rip and tear attack when this bad boy hits the field. Same can be said for Range Claw, which has a couple of rather interesting conditions additionally. That means that if you attack someone at close range, you get a damage plus, whereas you attack someone far away from Urzafov, you get a success boost instead, making it more likely that hits are going to land. But that is not the only bonus that Range Claw brings to the table. Additionally, it also guarantees a sure crit if attacking in a foe in cooldown. So, very similarly to attacks like Sujigiri or Sanction, which benefit from attacking the enemy from behind, this one's definitely going to be sticking in with that as well. That being said, as we move forward with the only new model coming in this week, with the boosted rates, there's going to be a couple of very familiar faces this week as well. Those two faces, well, are KLN-01 Unitress with Heater Plant, Rifle, Gatling, Biped Legs, and Gunman, and STG-01 Excise with Shoot Trap, Charge Claw, Hammer, Biped Legs, and Climber. Now, these are a couple of very iconic and well-known faces, Eric. Do these ring any bells or bring any nostalgic vibes back to you?
Absolutely, they do. I'm seeing some big War Bandit and Sumilodon energy going on, and I think they do a great job of capturing the energy of like the original designs while iterating on them and kind of like breathing that new life that we want to see into it.
Yes. And these two have definitely been around the corner for a hot minute as the direct upgrades to Smilodon and Warbonnet specifically. Now, the difference between those two earlier models, however, is Excise and Unitress are capable of meta change into alternative form. Unitress, in particular, trades his entire kit out for Cooler Plant, Power Rifle, Giga Gatling, Wheeled Legs, and the leg ability of Forester. Whereas Excise trades his kit out for Melee Trap, Charge Blade, Pile, Multi-Legs, and Land Cruiser as a leg ability, which grants a whole new set of viability and versatility what these two models bring to the table. What are your thoughts overall on the dual kits between the two of these?
I think that they're so interesting. I love the opportunity to to change stats as needed and things like that. I also think that again, I can't help but approach from a character design perspective. I think it's really challenging to make like an animal mech not look like a Zoid, and they've done a really beautiful job making it still feel like Metabots, like Medarot.
100%. Especially given the fact that Medarot S actually has collabed with Zoids now 3 separate times, so that definitely works
exactly.
out.
They got to ride that line, really cleanly, I think, and they did a great job here.
Yes, absolutely. And the meta change definitely adds a whole new level of character design when it comes to taking a lot of things into consideration. So it's very nice to see both of these models officially hit the scene and get some boosted rates once again. That being said, though, it is also worth a friendly reminder for anyone that is planning to pull for either of these or Urzafalk. I'm going to mention that Unitress and Excise, as a reminder, are meta change type models, which means their behaviors in the Gacha banners are going to behave a little differently. You are either going to pull the entire set or not at all. So if you are going to land that lucky small percent, it's most likely going to be for one of these two or for Urzafalk. So that is simply something to keep in mind as you're trying to make use of what to pull for through this week as far as banners are concerned and bonuses as events are as well. Now, for the fierce battles that we have going on this week, it's going to be another very mixed ailment week as well as far as what we see brought to the table, with a lot of very powerful skills between both male and female bots specifically. But to start us off on this top row, we have MON03 Kiru Mashida with Heel Trap, Double Sword, Biped Legs, and Spearhead, and his twin MON-03 Iru Mashira, with Repair Plant, Double Free Shot, Biped Legs, and Gunman. Then lastly, we have PLC-01 Speed Alert, with Mobile Boost, Thunder, Rifle, Wheeled Legs, and Emergency. On the bottom row, we have CLA-01 Kanahachi Mach 2 with Triple Hold, Multi-Legs, and Mariner. GBD-01 Blast Beat with Guard Boost, Double Break Hammer, Tank Legs, and Barrier. And GBG-01 Fret Beat with Fight Boost, Beam Sword, Fire, and Generator with Biped Leg. Eric, what are your thoughts overall on the Fierce Battles for this week and what we see coming in?
I think they seem super fun. I love the variety especially in leg types that we see here. There's so many different fun things happening, and it feels like there's a lot of like fun opportunity to explore different design. And I also love, especially in the MON models, they give me kind of like Ghost in the Shell, like the Nandroid vibes. But I know that there was a collab there as well, and I feel like they did a really great job of, like nodding towards a specific aesthetic without crossing the boundaries into like back into a collab or something like that,
And that's actually a very interesting observation, especially given that both of these are based off of Monkey, the MON series as well. It's nice that they had that rather, even if it was an unintentional aesthetic as well, given that both debuted in Medarot Duel specifically as twins to each other. So it is really nice and a really interesting observation that I didn't think about it immediately. But like you said, a lot of very high variety with leg types this time around, between a few bipeds, a wheeled, a tank, and a multi-ped, which also ties into the emphasis that sometimes it's good to have legs of every type. That being said, I do have to give an MVP of the week primarily to Iru Mashira for the ability of Free Shot, given the fact that Fierce Battles are something that can be farmed almost indefinitely over the course of the week. Free Shot is something that anyone can use extremely easily and very flexibly anywhere, with the ability to stun enemies cold, with Sure Hit and Sure Crit abilities tied onto that as long as they stay frozen. Behind him, I would honestly have to give Kanahachi Mach 2 the next MVP of a week as a runner-up, primarily for the fact not necessarily of Hold being anything of overall value, which it is, but multi-legs with the ability of Mariner are really, as aquatic terrain is something that's really difficult to match on, and any legs that give Mariner or any kind of compatibility on aquatic terrain is definitely going to be worth holding on to without having to go outright into sea legs entirely and risk getting nuked by someone packing anti-sea to counter against you. Now, as far as events are concerned for Medarot S and what we're seeing this week, it is going to be fairly light with a new event that's going to be going live for Wave 2. This time around, we have the opportunity to earn a brand new medal, the Hawk Medal, which has a mastery in melee, support, and setup, with leg masteries in biped, tank, and flight. We can also earn a second profile banner, as you see here, featuring other iconic mechs from the Full Metal Panic series. And of course, there are also gacha tickets to earn for this month's PvP, or any event gachas on top of that. Now, as far as the event is concerned, I did not actually add that in here. I did miss it post assembly of my presentations. This week's event specifically will be ticket-based, which means bonuses will be stacking per bonus part equipped across the party. So that means if you have somebody with a +3 for the red ticket bonus, that is a +3 per part equipped for a maximum of 12, which makes it very easy to farm for a lot of these tickets very easily without having to overfarm. What are your thoughts on that brand new medal, by the way, Eric?
I'm loving it. I think it seems super fun. I love the design, and honestly, in like kind of prepping for today and going back over like some of the just the deep lore behind Medarot, the number of medals is staggering.
Yes,
it's so high, so much higher than I remember from back from watching the TV show in my youth and things like that. Like I think they've been able to breathe so much life in over the years that we just didn't really get to see over here in the US. And so I'm so grateful for shows like this that give me the opportunity to learn so much more.
Yes, and it's also very nice to know that more medals means more flexibility, as even if you have 3 medals which have masteries in melee, support, and setup, All three are going to have completely different meta forces, natures, and leg mastery, so you're going to have lots of flexibility to work with the more medals you have. And it's also worth noting that aside from a handful of medals that were made primarily for collabs or anything specific, a lot of these could also be argued as carryovers from older games, such as the Rex medal as a great example, or the Aegis as another really good one, as medals that have been around for a pretty hot minute but have not been in any active games since, say early 2010 or so on, that were primarily Japan exclusive. Now, like I said, as far as the event is concerned, it is ticket-based as a friendly reminder one more time, so that does mean that bonuses will be stacking per part. That means you can go pure set if you'd like to make it easy, or if you've not quite been lucky with the gacha pulls this time around, that does give you the opportunity to kind of mix what you need to maximize your bonuses. Please do consult the previous slides with the fierce battles, boosted rates, and of course with Urza Folk, as far as who's going to be giving bonuses and what and how much of a bonus they're going to be offering. Now, as far as Meta Survivor is concerned, it's going to be a relatively quiet week as well, but with the introduction of a couple with a new face and an iconic face. The first of which is, of course, Belzelga, a very iconic and well-known DVL type from the early games, will officially be joining the fray in Meta Survivor with a very heavy emphasis on HP control, which definitely ties into how aggressive that little sucker is on the field. But it is also worth noting that one of his master skills, if you ascend him up that high, does also grant him some extra bonus relative to the amount of HP that he's lost or has in control at the time. Now, the new face we're going to be seeing this week is Barrage Fire, which is a new porcupine type that is being introduced in Meta Survivor with a guest artist that was designed by Makoto Ishiwata of the Psycho Pass series. Now, it's also worth noting as another iconic title that Mr. Ishiwata had worked with was Suisei no Gargantia, so he definitely has been around the block with some mecha designs every now and then, and it definitely shows with Barrage Fire. What are your thoughts overall, Eric, on this brand new face?
I love it, and I'm a huge Psycho Pass fan as well, so this is what a great crossover, to be able to share that artist with, here with Survivor. I totally see the porcupine in there as well, almost with that black front section being the little nose.
Oh yes.
I think they did a beautiful job without being too on the nose. If you'll forgive me for that.
Pun intended. I saw where you were going with that. Now, honestly, when I saw the trailer for Barrage Fire as well, before I saw the artist, I thought it looked very similar to something akin to, say, like Armored Core, as an example, with the base wheels and the very heavy cockpit type of head design.
Totally agree. Yeah, it has that very sort of like classic. I don't want to say like first generation mecha, but that like that utilitarian. That
yes.
It's a very grounded design.
Yes, exactly. And Barrage Fire in particular specializes mostly in damage reduction and movement attack range, which makes it very solid as a long range type of user on the field. However, his master skill, if you ascend him all the way up, grants him a shield that can be deployed every 30 seconds to tank one free hit. And if you choose to invest in it that high, that can sometimes really come in clutch when those hordes come at you from all angles. However, it is also worth noting that this will be yet another wonderful guest that has been introduced with Meta Survivor and the amount of wonderful guest artists that we've had. So far, just as some other examples, we've had Iron-Blooded Orphans, we've had Keep Your Hands Off Aizokin, we've had Ultraman, we've had Fate, Kimono Friends, we've had so many wonderful guests weigh in and create designs for this series, and I hope that that's going to continue growing as Meta Survivor grows in its player base and in its success. Highly recommend trying that out, by the way, if you're ever looking for something casual to pick up on with a Japanese Google account. Have you ever thought about trying Meta Survivor at all, Eric?
I can't say that I have, but honestly, this one crossover or this one sort of collab right here might just be enough to tip me over the edge. This seems, I love the design, and Belzelga is just such a classic, like a classic look.
Yes.
So this might be exactly what it takes to get me to push the button finally.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna make this even sweeter for you. Barrage Fire is not a collaboration. It is actually going to be an official model that is permanently joining any roster or library he's put in.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome!
All
What
of
a
the
fun design to
all of
have
the
forever.
guests, all of the guest artists that have weighed in and created designs for Medarot S. Azuruler, which was designed by Washio, who was in charge of Iron Blooded Orphans.
Hmm.
That is, you can obviously tell it was designed by the Gundam IBO artist, but it is an actual full-fledged Medarot. It is in the roster. It is going to be staying in the roster pretty much for the entirety of the franchise stays alive.
That's beautiful, and you're so right. He has such a specific style. Like you can pick his work out of a lineup so easily. That's so. But at the same time, I do feel like Medarot has done maybe the best job with collabs that I've ever seen from any kind of like cross-platform media like that. Like
100%.
because they still feel like Metabots. It
I
still
had
it still fits.
I had a guest in my What is Medarot collaboration, and they brought up a funny point to me with all the collaborations at that point. And he said, it's hilarious that Medarot has done at the time, 4 years in more than what Super Robot Wars has done in over 30 titles.
It's deeply
and it
accurate.
and it works too,
Profoundly
but
accurate.
it's great with what's been brought to the table with that. So very excited to
So
see both
true.
Belzelga and Barrage Fire go live tomorrow, actually, with the weekly carryover as far as Medarot Survivor is concerned. The events are going to be relatively standard, so nothing really worth mentioning on there. This will be a standard 2-week event with Belzelga most likely cycling in first, and then Barrage Fire joining the fray the next week after that for the second half of that. But that's basically all the news from Meta Survivor specifically. Now, as far as community stuff, though, as we kind of step away from game-related stuff for a minute, as always, I do like to openly advocate and emphasize that we are always looking for translators to assist us with any current projects or endeavors, namely with the Medarot 4 project that is currently still ongoing and any of the Reloaded or Medarot mangas in particular. It is also worth noting, I did not officially put it in here yet because it is a new development as of earlier this week. The Medarot Navi manga has officially been scanned as in raw file that officially it can be put into a translatable state. So if you are looking for a project to work on, if you're knowledgeable in coding, cleaning Japanese, or if you know somebody that might be and willing to lend a hand, definitely feel free to reach out to us and we can absolutely try to fill you in on what still needs done and get you in touch with the right people. I actually was able to look over the Medarot Navi manga just a little bit, and good lord, that can get really somber quick, which is a very sharp, very jarring tone compared to what we're used to with the current Medarot game. So I am very excited for that one to officially get picked up and translated over the course of the next coming months as we have people coming interest. But moving forward on the topic of the community, as a friendly reminder, we are still currently ongoing in our Ori Meta contest in the Project Rise of Beetle Discord server. That will be ending on the 1st of July, so in little under 3 weeks from now, the contest will be closed and I will be going into a deliberation period to figure out who will be the top designs or the winning designs for that. The theme is steampunk to kind of celebrate my 4-year anniversary through this month, and the top prize, or prizes, based on how many entries that we receive, will be getting personalized concept art done by yours truly. I will even stream myself designing it at the same time and doing it, so I will love to have you guys hang out with me as we look over those, and I'd love to see a whole lot of very unique designs. Eric, as a content creator and an art and a character designer as well, what are your thoughts on contests like this where people can kind of design something within a theme or an aesthetic?
I love that, and I think that like you've provided important constraints too. Like there's such a clear like set of rules to follow that still allow for so much freedom, but I think that contests that provide too much freedom end up with competitors just getting lost. And I think that like the community that you've built is so like so genuine and so wholesome and cares so much about this subject matter. They're already like so tuned in to like what it means, what a Metabot is. That adding the steampunk like aesthetic constraints to it, I think is like just enough to push it into like really interesting design areas without pushing it again like out of what it means to be a Metabot. So I think
Right.
that this is beautiful.
Right, and we've already had a handful of entries introduced into the submission channels already, so I'm really hoping to see a lot more of them by the time this contest ends, because honestly, I love collecting them more than actually like deciding on a winner, because sometimes they make it so difficult to figure out a winner, because there's just so many really good ones or so many creative takes. I tell this to friends all the time. You can literally give the idea of give the prompt of a beetle to 30 people, and there'll be 30 different approaches to how to make a beetle. And that's honestly something I love about the series. But, again, just as one final reminder on that, the contest is ongoing. It will be ending officially on the 1st of July. So do make sure that you join the Discord for all the rules and details, and submit all your entries there by the time that date comes around for a shot at that top prize. On the topic of art, though, your boy, like I said last week, is going to be very busy with collabs over the course of this next few days. Well, as a friendly reminder, I'm going to be keeping up to date with this as well. 2 days from now, on June 12th, I will be collaborating and having mint on my channel for a friendly art stream with an Ori meta design concept at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. On the 14th of June, I'll be having Helm-chan in and guest on the channel once more for a friendly art stream as well. On the 16th, that Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, I'll be having Escardis, who is actually the designer of Musha Beetle in one of the more recent official contests that Imagineer held. So it's going to be an absolute honor to have Escardis on my channel as we talk about character design and come up with something very unique between he and I. And then on the 25th of June, I'll be having my dear buddy Ruben join me for another Ori meta design. So it's going to be a very fun and very busy week for your boy here. On the topic of the character design as well, and you hit a lot of these points as well, Eric, with the freedom of expression. Have you actually had the chance to, and I'm just going to ask this genuinely, check out my random Medarot kit generator, or have you not had the chance yet?
I have not, but I would really like to.
Oh, I'll have to hook you up with that post showtime then, because I think you're going to get an absolute kick out of that. Basically, what I do with my art streams is I'll play around with the prompt until it gives me something I can use, and then I basically just visualize a brand new, never-before-seen concept. So it's a very solid tool that I put together to be able to help people figure out what to design if they don't know what to do, as a jumpstart to creative juice, essentially. So I'm very excited to have these 4 people on my channel, just as much of an honor as it is to have you on the channel with me today, Eric. Even possibly we'll have to coordinate an art stream sometime and have you back on the MNN.
I'd love that. That would be super fun, and that's so kind of you to say. And I think that this random Metabot generator, it's already got my wheels turning. This sounds super fun. I love those any kind of like character creation prompts and stuff like that. Like that's such a great design exercise.
Yes, definitely. So I'll have to hook you up with that later. But yes, as a friendly reminder one more time, I do have several collabs over the course of this week, so make sure you tune in with me here on the MNN at these times so that you can come hang out with me and my guests so we can design something together and have plenty of fun conversation and good times all around. One final topic on art, though, as a friendly reminder, I am also open for commission at all times, so if you are looking for a live 2D model ready to rig, emotes as well, 3D models with the full service, or just your standard art as well, I am open to just about anything, as you see here, with fairly affordable prices. At least I like to think they are anyway. But feel free to reach out to me on Discord, Twitter, or Blue Sky, whatever your platform of choice is, to reach out to me. We can most certainly try to make something happen on. But with that being said, that does actually carry us to the very end of this episode, and the really big announcement that we have in particular with this week's episode, and the big reason for having my guest host with me today. That is, of course, the design of something that Eric has been working on for the last 5 years, as he did allude to. And that is a trading card game of Mechromancers. So, Eric, I'm going to officially give you the floor here. Go ahead and tell us just a little bit about Mechromancers and what started the inspiration, what got you started in it, what was kind of your overall thoughts about the process?
Oh, thank you so much, man. And so what really kind of got me into it was I was just kind of, I was at a point in my life where I was revisiting some of the things that had brought me joy when I was younger, because that's where I get a lot of my inspiration in terms of game design or character design and things like that. And I was kind of revisiting some old anime, and I, sort of found myself revisiting Metabots specifically, and I loved that, it was like robot Pokemon. Like I wanted to catch them all, I wanted to have them all, I wanted to have a little robo buddy, and at the same time, I think I also kind of rediscovered Shaman King.
Okay.
And I was always just so in love with the idea of the oversouls and the spirits that you were channeling into these objects, and I just kind of had this brain blast moment where I said, what if you could have like a Metabot, but instead of having it powered by a metal, you had it powered by ghosts?
Okay.
And so
A
that
unique
was
idea.
really right. And so what I wanted to do, and where it really kind of dove into from there, was I drew a picture of this arm that was just like a normal kind of Metabot arm with some like that one right over there on the left with the little razor blades on the side.
Okay.
And then I had recently discovered that there are these transparent acrylic playing cards that you can print on, to cover just specific areas. And so I got some and printed just some ghostly elements.
Okay.
Oh, perfect timing, man. So there you can see in that picture on the left, you can see some of the head parts of the different Mechrobots, as I call them for the game. And there you can see on the right-hand side a fully assembled Mechrobot with some spirit overlays attached. So that's, I think, a perfect example of this, really just kind of the spiritual baby of Metabots and Shaman King put together. It's honestly, that was exactly what I wanted. I wanted to have a robot that I could build in a way that, I wanted it to be super customizable, be able to assemble the robot that I wanted to assemble because those are the parts that I thought looked cool together. And then I wanted to be able to power it with the ghosts that I thought looked coolest on it. So in this game, you get to build a robot, power it with ghosts, and then smash your opponent with it.
I see.
It's the best of all worlds.
And honestly, I liked the play on words that you did with the name too, with Mechromancers, especially with you saying that it's powered by ghosts in particular, as another kind of play on the word there. It's very unique. I thought that was a very creative take when I first heard about this project. And like I said, I've actually been kind of following this on the side. I've been following your project as well as you posted updates to it over the last couple of years. So I've been staying fairly close with updates on this, and it's been wonderful seeing the development on this. The character design, the Kickstarter, the overall play with the rules and everything. It's very plain to see that you planned a lot of this out with, and it's very obvious as well where you've gotten a lot of your inspiration from. With the mix and match parts of the Medarots, with the spiritual elements with Shaman King, the creativity as well with naming all the parts different things too is really, really creative. So it's really great to see where you got your inspiration from, and definitely props to you as well for keeping it dedicated with this project, like you said.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think if you'd asked me 5 years ago, do you think you'll still be working on this game in 5 years, I would have probably laughed and said, no, of course not. But I mean, I guess the more time I spent in the game and kind of diving into the world that I've sort of been building with Mechromancers, I really fell in love with it. And now, we're working with a studio in California to do like a VR version of the game as well. Ooh. And things like that. We've got I've been speaking with someone who might be trying to do some some 3D modeled figures, and my youngest brother is an engineer, and we're working on making some other like peripheral gaming accessories. Like in the picture on the left, you can see my hand built soul phone, if you will. Right? How else are you going to call the spirits? You got to use your soul phone.
I getcha.
And I really wanted my Yu-Gi-Oh! Dual Disc, right? In my opinion, one of the greatest peripheral gaming accessories of all time. And so, all these anime that I grew up watching were just so impactful and important to me. I really just kind of wanted to, make a game that would make young Eric happy.
Gotcha.
And I think we really hit the nail on the head with this one.
Oh, definitely. And like I said, it's very plain to see the amount of time, detail, and effort you put into planning everything out. And especially with card games, too, you got to plan a lot of stuff really carefully if you don't want overlap or things that will end up kind of essentially soft-locking a game, such as with the rule not working out or something not behaving as it should. So it's very obvious that you got to plan a lot of things out very carefully. And it's very plain to see that you have. So it's an absolute pleasure to see this project continuing to develop, and it's especially nice to have you here on the show with me to talk about it, just kind of give you a stage to kind of gush about it and tell the world about this project. Based on what you sent me so far, it's still currently on Kickstarter. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. I believe we're just about at 80% funded. and we've still got well over 20 days left in the campaign. So I'm honestly floored by the support that I've seen so far, and I think so much of that support has come from the Medarot community, and there's still so much that I'm hopeful that we'll be able to accomplish in this campaign.
Beautiful. Well, I do wish you the best of luck with that, though. With that, and 80%, that's really, really close. That's just around the corner, though. So I definitely am hopeful that you'll be reaching that final 20% to fully fund the project. And even if it doesn't for whatever reason, I still think that this is a fantastic project, even just to make the most with what you have and what you did earn, just to kind of put it out there for players to enjoy. And like you said, with the VR stuff as well, that's definitely a very solid option. I've actually seen a lot of people also putting things on like Tabletop Simulator on Steam, so that could be an option as well to experiment with if you've not looked that direction.
Yeah, we do have a version of the light, quote unquote, version of Mechromancers called Pocket Duels that's available on Tabletop Simulator. That was developed by a buddy who runs a studio called All Right Games, Chris Williams.
Gotcha.
And so that is currently available, and I believe is free to play. And there actually is a link to that on our website. If you go to witchwaygames.com, or if you just search for Mechromancers, it should show up.
Okay.
But yeah, that's free to play as well. And I believe we also have if you just kind of want to dabble, we do have a free print and play of the light version of the game as well, if people just want to check that out.
Gotcha. And that actually is that's actually a very good time to segue into the tail end of this episode as well, with where to contact and where to reach out to people. With that being said, though, I do want to reach out and that you do follow Witchway Games. You can search them up on YouTube, on Google, look up Mechromancers, much like Eric said, and you can find the project extremely easily, as well as any Kickstarters that are attached to the project. Because, again, 80%, that's really, really close. That's right around the corner of completion. So I have every hope that folks are going to come together and talk about this and bring it out. And I'll even share it with a couple of my buds, too, on the back end and see see what they think as far as card game projects are concerned. I can already think of like 2 people already that might be interested. But Eric, it is an absolute pleasure to have you on the MNN to talk about Mechromancers and the progress it's been developing and where you started with it. It's absolute treat. It was so great to have you with me.
Kuro, thank you so much. It's such an honor to be on MNN, and I think that you should be so proud of what you've accomplished over these last 4 years. I hope you feel proud. You should. And,
well, I like to think I am anyway. But no, thank you so much for that, Eric, as well. It's been a real treat to have you and for your encouraging words. But with that being said, if you guys would like to know more, you can follow us below on Facebook at the Medarot News Network page or the Metabots Forever community as well, that I do also run and manage. Currently swelling over 43,000 members and still growing by the day. I'm so shocked at how fast that community has grown. On Discord, you can also join us in the link provided and in the comments below to keep an even closer ear to the ground on the action. This includes any links to merchandise, fan art, contests, weekly episodes, or even reaching out to Eric as well as a fellow member in that Discord to ask about Mechromancers. Just reach out to him, tag him, and say hello. Hey, I found about Mechromancers. What can you tell me? I'm more than certain it'll make his day. You can also reach out to me on Twitter, Blue Sky, or Discord at Isagami Kura as well. You can reach out if you want to have any questions, comments, feedbacks, if you want to coordinate a commission or a collaboration. My DMs always remain open for that reason. And, like I said, to wrap us up, do also follow Eric as well at Witchway Games on any platform that does yield it as the search results. Additionally, as well with Mechromancers in that same vein, to follow the project, to see any updates on that, or if you want to donate to the Kickstarter, help see the project to fully funded completion. But as I do wrap us up here, Eric, one more time, it is an absolute treat to have you here on the MNN with me today. Thank you so much for spending some time to hang out with me and talk about our favorite pet fighting robots, and even some that you've been designing in-house.
Thank you so much, Kura. This has been awesome. 10 out of 10 would do again.
Absolutely, and we'll definitely have to coordinate having you on the MNN sometime for that art stream. I think we could definitely put something unique together.
That'd be a blast.
Alright, so as I wrap us up, if you don't mind hanging out on mute just a little bit longer before I go off the air, I'd appreciate that. But with that being said, as always, I do appreciate you all for stopping in, just as you always do. And until next time, this is your host, Kura Isagami of the Medarot News Network, signing out.